Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment or medications if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here. Visit bewelltexas.org.
Andy, the only thing that says Squarin around that touches this body is made by Elite Sports, baby. You know where to get it, elitesports.com. They have a full slate of athletes that they also support. Use code SQUARE, get 10% off. What do you have to say about the fine folks that we got at Elite Sports?
I think the coolest thing about Elite Sports is they have customized stuff for the athletes. I always think it's cool when athletes have their own merch brand, and they've done an incredible job of supporting the athletes at Texas State in the past and in the future. And as NIL gets bigger and bigger, it's important to have a partner that is going to help make sure our athletes stay at Texas State. Elite Sports does that.
My favorite thing is that vintage Ben McLean shirt that I have. They do that stuff from time to time. So I'm going to probably scoop another athlete here in a little bit for these cold months. You know, might as well rock our stuff. Support the brand, elitesports.com. Use code SQUARE at checkout.
Jacob, there's a reason they call it home field advantage, and it's because of home field apparel. They make sure that you feel like you have an advantage when it comes to your college and your college brand. Look, they do a great job. I grew up a Minnesota Golden Gopher fan, a West Virginia Mountaineer fan. We're going to get the Texas State gear at some point, but they have so many different colleges. They got hats, they got shirts. You do not want to miss it. And let me tell you, the shirts, immaculate. They are the softest shirts I've ever had, Jacob. They're so great.
I'm not giving up on home field. Neither should you. Use code SQUARE at checkout. Support the brand, baby. I hate playing away games too. You're right. Who would want to sacrifice home field advantage?
I feel like I'm in home field advantage every time I'm wearing home field apparel.
Tired of winning the tailgate but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squaring Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
Andy, what the HE double hockey sticks, bro? What the HE double hockey sticks, bro?
Our guest today is Colton McWilliams,
a man of many talents.
We said when we started this podcast that we were not going to do a reaction podcast, that we were not going to be reactionary podcasters.
Absolutely not.
After looking at the last streaming downloads, we've decided to change. And I
want everybody to know too, Andrew has never seen any of our streaming numbers before unless I showed them on my phone physically to him.
So after our last conversation about our streaming numbers, we've decided to become a reactionary podcast. And the episode we did
this
today,
team is playing like 4 midweek games.
A lot of caveats you're putting on this one. We've decided to become a reactionary podcast.
Yeah,
and
I have.
In that, we have decided to go very hard at our team. So if you're a person who has kind of come to grips with the Texas State loss on Tuesday night to the Cajuns, this might not be the episode for you. This might not be the episode for you if you're somebody who's come to peace with the way the Texas State lost. You've come to peace with a 4-4 season.
Yeah, because it's just going to rile you up.
The most disappointing season that Texas State has ever had. But if you are still working through that, then this is a podcast for you.
I think, like Andrew said, if you're ready to just put this one to bed and move on to next week like our coaches are, don't even click on this episode because we rile you up like a pit bull.
It's a snow globe for sure. And if you are somebody who watched Jacob and I's appearance on The Current with Kelly Danfus, shout out and thanks for watching and hit subscribe and listen next week when Texas State wins. But this week might not be for you.
You will not like this episode, I guarantee it. Especially if you're all like, hey, we're the home team. You should be rooting for us. I don't know, buddy. Sometimes I'm plotting against our own downfall, sometimes in the manner in which we lose.
And double also if you're somebody who's listening with children, because Jacob and I single-handedly fund the NIL collective in this episode.
Freaking Colton too. All right, we weren't just two guilty parties there. Colton dropped 3, I think.
Here's the interview.
What's up, everybody? Oh, look at that. Pinch poke, you owe me a Coke. You know, I watched your radio station and you like mouth the words that the other guy does at the same time. And it was the most annoying thing ever. And the whole time he's going like this. And I was like, what the hell is this guy's bit? But
here's the thing. So Jacob's talking about watching a YouTube feed of a radio station.
No, I watched it on
Austin.
X.
Oh, that's even worse. Anyway.
Yeah. Because there was like a frame latency issue too.
Yeah, don't give Elon those clicks. What are you doing?
Well, I was just scrolling on the timeline, man. And I retweeted you. Hard retweeted you on my account.
Hard retweet. Yeah.
Hard retweet.
Yeah. All those, loyal Jacob heads watching the content.
I've got 1,500 followers, bro. You're welcome. I'm boosting you. I'm like an influencer.
Yeah, all those people hate me because of my f***ing taco takes.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's $1 in the swear jar. Yeah.
$1 for Zimmy.
Anyway, the reason I'm coming out hot, not because Jacob is completely, stomping on my incredible, bit that I run. It's a really funny bit. Watch the show. It's because Texas State stinks. All right. I last week, and Colton, thanks for joining us. Last week, I defended this team. I said this wasn't the most disappointing team. This low key might be the most disappointing team because the situation, like the way that we played last night, and we're going to get into it. This isn't a reaction pod. Never do reaction pods.
This is kind of a reaction pod. This is the closest thing we've come to a reaction pod.
I was so upset last night. If the Yankees didn't win, I would have had a really bad day. Luckily, the Yankees won. But yeah, it was tough.
I was live at the stadium in person with the urban cowboy himself, Colton. Thank you again for joining us. Post ODU loss, the team had a bye week to catch up. That's why we really didn't even preview Louisiana. We were trying to get a player or a coach to help preview that for us. But we've been kind of
fell through, didn't it?
Yeah, we've been all topsy-turvy. And did we hear from a player or another coach besides GJ last night after the loss? No. So we're back to kind of square one with our boy.
So, okay. And this is where I want to get into it with Colton. So, Colton, Jacob and I have talked at nauseum about this team. We haven't had you on in a bit. You talk at nauseum about this team. Go.
Man, Andrew, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I'm just low-key kind of disappointed. And I think I'm more low-key disappointed in the offense more than anything because the defense has they held ODU to 21 points last week. Last Tuesday, they hold Louisiana to 23. And you're telling me the offense can't score more than 20 points? That's why I'm the most frustrated because we were told, this is probably the best offense like Texas State has ever seen. Like when you look at the advanced statistics, it is the best offense in the FBS era. And yet in these past 2 games, they have so severely underperformed. Like I don't know, people will get mad at the defense, especially against Louisiana, especially on that final drive and all of that stuff. But at the same time, they held
that final drive didn't lose the game for Texas State.
No. I agree. That's where I'm at. I'm not mad at the defense because in the second half, they held Louisiana to 6 field goals. I expect the offense to, put it in the end zone at least more than one time. That's kind of where my frustration is. And my big fear now is have people figured out how to stop the Kenny offense that has been so explosive? Have people figured out have been able to scheme around it?
I'm going to come back to that here in a minute. Okay. Jacob, what are your thoughts? You were there last night.
The instant reaction is kind of like what Colton is saying. And this is what I wanted to ask GJ last night, but I didn't feel like kicking him while he was down. Is that does it feel worse knowing that and he knows this, but the team itself has a bunch of people who have incredible potential to go on, perhaps even to the next level. But at this level, for sure in football, they could do something really special. And for whatever reason, it hasn't clicked. he said it himself. He was disappointed in the fact that all of these losses have come at like super inopportune times.
We've had some tough losses this year. We haven't felt like we can catch a break. I know that. That's the way it felt like, at least on the field that last drive. But only the way you can do, change that is going to work, and I know our guys will do that.
The first one, Arizona State, headed into a bye week. The second one, out of a bye week at Sam Houston, or at NRG, Sam Houston, not great. ODU also into a bye week. This one straight out of a bye week, now kind of a lopsided week, headed into more conference play. So it's just like the losses aren't coming when you want them to. You never want to see them, but they're just kind of like adding insult to injury at this point.
Early in that game, Texas State decides to kick a field goal instead of go for 7. And that, to circle back to Colton's point, is more indicative of what this offense is this year. This team has the most wasted potential of any Texas State team that has been on the field, point blank period. Of every team that we have watched, this team has the most potential. This team had college football playoff hopes. This team had Sun Belt title dreams. And both of those went out the window last night, not at the final whistle, at the halfway point. Because at the halfway point, I knew we weren't going to be able to pull this one out. And that, to me, is a problem. I felt that way multiple times in this Babel era. Felt that way multiple times in the Wizards era. Never felt that with GJ Kenny. Never felt that with GJ Kenny before last night. That at the halfway point, I was like, okay, yeah, no, this game, we're not winning it. That's a problem. That is the problem. And to say, Colton, that they figured out the GJ Kenny offense, I'm going to go on a limb here and say, I don't think people figured it out. We moved away from it. We're not doing what we did last year. Last year, TJ Finley took shots down the field. I have not seen a shot down the field this year. And Ishmael Mahdi was the best running back in the Sun Belt last year. 14 carries for 82 yards does not cut it. That does not cut it if you're trying to win games.
No, I totally agree. I feel like this team is in such an identity crisis, and I kept using that word in the press box and on the sidelines. How are we not giving the ball to Ish more? I think RJ probably threw the biggest ball we've seen all year, and it did not connect. But that just kind of goes to show like what's going on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask, are you as frustrated as I am? I know, Colton, you cover this team day in and day out. Jacob, we're I make fun of us. We moonlight as sports journalists at this point. But are you as frustrated as I am, Colton?
I am a little bit frustrated because you could see glimpses of like what this offense can do. We saw it against Troy at Arkansas State, and like when they need this offense to pull through the most, like it hasn't happened, and like they really needed that win against ODU, even though like it is a long road trip and all of that stuff. And they really needed the offense to pull through in a major like game that had division title aspirations. I mean, these past 2 weeks, the offense has not been up to snuff. And like, it is kind of frustrating because like we all know like this offense has potential to be like.
And I will say this, if the defense was struggling and I could pin it on Jacob asking about Ben Bell every week, I would. If you were saying, hey, this Ben Bell cloud over the defense is the reason that they're giving up 35, 40 points per game or we're losing games 45-38, okay, I can get behind that. A lot of distractions. It's not the defense.
No, and that's the wild thing. It's not the defense's fault. Like the defense has gotten better from last year, and that's probably the most frustrating is you have the defense has clearly improved. They're keeping the team in games. It's just the offense has like they can't get out. It feels like they can't get out of their own way.
And it's the other problem is, and I want to talk about the Tuesday night effect of this whole thing, because I want to know if you guys think that plays a part. But the frustrating part to me is that it's every big game. Like ODU was on ESPN Plus. You want to take that one out? You want to call it a fluke?
Yeah.
That's a trap game out of a bye week. Okay. Arizona State, winnable game, national TV, don't get the job done. Sam Houston State, in-state rivalry, don't get the job done. A Louisiana game on a Tuesday night, and I understand the crowd size. I understand that you're not going to get the hype that you're going to get on a Saturday, but that is the risk you have when you have a Tuesday night game. Eyeballs are on you. This is for potentially a better bowl game. The winner of this game, if Texas State wins this game, there might be a chance that they go to a better bowl game, even if they don't win the conference, because, hey, look, Tuesday night game, fans showed out. You beat a good Louisiana team. To lose the way that they did at home, that's a problem. Jacob, Tuesday night game, does that play any part in this loss, do you think?
I'd like to be able to give this team as many excuses as like we've been able to over the course of the season. But out of a bye week, it kind of doesn't matter to me. You know, GJ talked a little bit about it too. Like it kind of jacked some things around for them, like with testing schedules and stuff with players.
It definitely is not a normal, week. And I thought the students came out and that was awesome to see. And, but it's definitely not the same. But I don't think that's an excuse. I think it's just part of it. But yeah, it's always a challenge. We've had the Thursday and the Tuesdays, and so that part's never easy when you're trying to balance schedules and class. I mean, we had guys going to class, last night taking tests and then going over to the hotel. So there's a lot that goes into it, not just on the field preparation, but you got academics for these kids too. That's part of it. So.
But for all intents and purposes, like they knew about this game a long time ago. Sports is the only thing in like the news world where we know exactly when these teams are going to play. This team knew about this game 4 months. So yeah, to kind of approach this as like, oh, that was the real thing, or the last whatever drive was bad. It's not the thing. The offense, by the way. The offense, by the way, through 8 games.
Like Louisiana was in the exact same situation. They had a bye week. They had to prepare for this Tuesday game. So, I don't blame them.
And they had to go on the road. They had to go on the road. Texas rolled out of bed.
Exactly. And exactly. There's another there's another team that's running the exact same schedule as you, By the way, the offense through 8 games is averaging 32 and a half points a game. The defense is holding teams to an average of 22.6 points a game through 8 games.
How does that compare to last year?
Well, I'd have to crunch the numbers, but
okay.
So,
but that the defense holding that, you said 22 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So call it 23 if you really want to.
22 to 23 points. Like you expect the offense to be able to, score more than 22 to 23 points. I'm not crazy. That is not an unreasonable expectation for this offense, especially what this team had returning and all of that stuff. I feel like I'm going crazy, but this offense should be doing more. Like the coach, and I don't know where to pin the blame at, but do you pin it on the coaches for not putting the players in the right spot? I mean, you had the reigning Sun Belt Player of the Year at quarterback. Now you're going into the final. This later half of the season. Now you've got a backup quarterback.
Now, what do we know about that? What can you tell me about that?
About RJ?
Yeah. Or about Jordan McLeod?
I think Coach Kenny, they don't know the severity of it. When I watched him, I think he threw one pass and then he stopped and then he tried to it looked like he was trying his best to come back, but I think kind of what Coach Kenny said, I don't think they wanted to risk having McLeod out there. I think they were okay with RJ running the offense. That's just kind of what.
Yeah, he got some good tape. The tape for RJ Martinez doesn't look bad, Jacob.
No, I was kind of excited about it too. There was 2 women right behind me as I was on the sidelines shooting video. And one of them goes, "Oh, he's a Mexican." So the Mexican stock shot up on RJ Martinez. Shout out RJ. That's obviously a hard position to come into too. It looked like on the back end of one play, he got rolled up, either a knee or ankle issue. And he actually stayed out for the entire halftime period. So he was out there running around, throwing balls and stuff. And it looked like it was an issue with his plant foot, his left foot. And it just didn't look as stable as it should, and it didn't look right for him either. But yeah, I think Coach Kenny was just very conservative with obviously one of the best players in the Sun Belt. That's another thing.
Does that matter? We're 4-4.
Well, it used to. It's not like it doesn't anymore.
You can't say that's one of the best players in the Sun Belt when your team is 500.
No, because he's the player, not team player.
No, I'm saying I'm gonna go out and say it.
He's Sun Belt Player of the Year last year on this team. That's the difference.
That doesn't matter to me. I'm saying congrats to JMU for winning him that award.
Yeah,
because right now he doesn't look like the best quarterback. Over the last 2 weeks, he's not looked like the best quarterback in the Sun Belt. Do you disagree?
Well, yeah, but you can't take last year's award away from him. That's what
No,
I'm
but
saying.
I can diminish it.
I don't think so. I don't think it ever diminishes what he did at JMU. It doesn't take away
Had
his
a great
resume.
team. Had a great team around him.
And what,
Had
this was
incredible
not the
team.
best, like, highly touted roster
Clearly
in all of
not if
Sunbelt
they're
land?
4-4.
I'm just
Clearly
saying,
not if
according
offense
to the
isn't clicking.
metrics, according to everything that you would possibly read ahead of the season, this was the team that was supposed to do it at Texas State.
But you know what's cool about
Touted
sports?
more heavily than any
You know what's
other
cool?
JMU team.
You know what's cool about sports is I have now 8 games of film on this team. This team is worse than last year's team.
No, I understand, but Jordan McLeod is the better quarterback out of both.
I
of
don't
those
think
for us.
8 games into the season last year, were we 4-4?
I don't know. You do the math. Why don't you look
Colton,
something up
8
for
games
once
into
on
the
this
season
show?
last year. 8 games in the year last year, were we 4-4?
Where were we? Because trying to remember. Were we trying to
Do you
think
guys think that? Let me ask you this: not preseason, currently, is this team better than last year's team? Doesn't feel like it, does it?
Hang on, you're asking me too many questions, and I'm trying to get all the answers for you.
I'm just asking from eye test. Colton will go here. Do you think that this team is better than last year's team through 8 games from what you've seen so far? Last year, I don't remember having this type of conversation, being like, this is a disappointing team.
Well, I think
They
the
also
narrative,
lost a lot more on the road, though, too, last year. So it was like it didn't hurt as much. They're losing more at home this year.
Mm.
I think you also have to remember last season. Last season was all about getting 6 games, making it to a bowl game, and all of that stuff. Entering this season, this was all. The narrative is like, hey, the Sun Belt West Division is wide open. Troy lost everybody. This is our, division's up for the taking, and if all we need is one shot at like whoever comes out of the East. I think it's worse this it feels worse this season because there was so much expectation of like this team competing for the conference championship and all of that stuff. Well, compared to last year, it was all about, hey, they came off beating Baylor. They were very competitive against Louisiana and Troy. Like this team's and also this team was qualifying for the team's first ever bowl game. I think it's different because like the narratives of like both seasons are like on different ends of the spectrum, if that makes sense.
Last year at this point, 5-3, by the way.
Yeah. So is that like a terrible?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because
I don't know.
it's different.
You're arguing the difference
Here's
between
why.
one game.
No, it's not. But here's the thing: it's not just one game.
It's true.
It's
though.
not just one game.
It is true. It is one game on statistically. 5-3,
But,
4-4.
Yeah, no. But last year, here's my point. Last year, the losses that they had were a loss to a very good Troy team, 31-13 loss at home, a loss to a very good Louisiana team, 34-30 on the road, and a loss to UTSA, 20-13 on the road. The losses they have this year are a loss by 1 point to Sam Houston State at a neutral site game.
Pretty good Sam Houston squad.
ODU, who's not good. Okay?
What are you talking about? They beat everybody good.
No,
they lead the
they're
Sun
not.
Belt.
They are not good. They are not good enough for Texas State to roll over and die the way that they did.
You know what I have now? To steal your line, the benefit of 8 games, Andrew, on this team. I don't know. Honestly, Louisiana didn't even look good last night. They looked flat.
Okay, to circle back. To circle back, I asked Colton the question. I'll ask you the question now. Do you feel like this team is better than last year's team?
I used to feel that way. But I remember telling you guys that I saw these guys at the last scrimmage. Colton was there as well. And I was like, this is very clearly a team that's not going to go undefeated. We're talking at least 3 loss team. Cole Wilson famously last year said 5 losses is crazy. I don't know what 4 is, but it has to be like wild or nuts, at least on the Cole Wilson panic meter for the season in terms of like losing goes.
Cole Wilson had double the catches of Joey Hobart yesterday. 6 catches to Joey Hobart's 3. On a scale 1 to 10, or on crazy of bad to nuts, how unacceptable is that?
Well, it just looked like
Joey
Cole
has
was
3
like
catches.
It just looked like Cole was definitely RJ's safety blanket in practice, so he kept feeding him. Obviously Joey's running with the 1s. RJ and Cole might be running with the 2s more often.
So you don't put any stock into that?
I don't know. I mean, it's a hard situation for RJ to come into too. To pin that
No,
completely
I'm
on
not
that.
saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not.
Besides, the loss, like really, RJ had a pretty good game aside from the last interception.
And have I said that he wasn't? I said
No, I didn't. Hey, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
That's what I'm just saying. Of everybody on this team, of the entire blame pie, he gets none. He gets not a crumb. I don't blame RJ Barrett not RJ Barrett, RJ Martinez, RJ and Martinez for anything.
He's a Mexican.
I don't blame him for anything. The interception, if you want to get mad at him, if you're somebody who's nitpicking and want to go after him for that interception, I'm not looking at that and going like, oh, that's what cost us the game.
By the way,
a lot of
people were like, yo, who is this RJ Martinez kid? And I was like, did you guys not pay attention to the early season stuff? He came in from Baylor. He played at either San Jose State or Sac State. I can't remember which one. But he balled out at the,
Northern Arizona.
There you go.
There it is.
NAIU or whatever it is, right? It's blue and yellow. NAU?
NAU, yep.
NAU.
Colton, can you talk me off the ledge?
Off the ledge about, well, I still think there's time for I don't really blame this on the players. I kind of blame this on the coaching staff because I feel like they're not putting the players in the right position to succeed. I feel like right before the ODU game, I was pretty confident in this team. Okay, I think this team can start rolling. They have a chance to. They had 2 really good wins. They beat down a Troy team, a team they hadn't beat since '97. They throttled Arkansas State, held that team to 0 touchdowns, by the way. Like I said, before that time, Jordan McLeod looked like he was the best quarterback in the Sun Belt, at that time. But ever since ODU and Louisiana, this offense has fallen apart. And I low-key kind of put blame on the coaching staff because I don't think they're the defenses have clearly figured something out. And the coaching staff, it's not. And I don't know if how much you can really blame on the players if the coaching staff's not putting in positions to succeed, because you can't expect this team, especially in the first, both period in games in the first half, Texas State has scored 0 touchdowns. You can't have that. And now these past 3 games, they've only, even in the Louisiana game, you can't go down to the 10-yard line and get 3 field goals and only score 1 touchdown. To me, that's the coaching staff not putting the players in the right spot to get these plays, to get the ball in the end zone.
And I don't understand how a team that was so aggressive last year has completely neutered themselves this year. There's just no aggression.
I was surprised at the number of field goals too last night, because what happened to the team I love, we usually go for it on 4th within 10, within 5 for sure.
I think, like I said, it's weird because, in the same Houston State, super aggressive and all of that stuff, but they never converted on didn't convert the first downs and all of that stuff. It's almost I don't know how to describe it, but it's I don't know if it's just because you got to remember, Coach Kenny's is in his 3rd year as a head coach. He's still a young head coach trying to figure out, and also we have, I don't want to say it's an experimental offense, but it's an offense that's it's not usually what we see. You're usually air raid, you're usually pro. It's not this, I don't know how
it's a mix.
The veer and shoot, kind of offense. It's 50% run, 50% pass, and all of that stuff. I think there's got to be times when you have to realize do you take the points now, or do you be the gunslinger and try to get the. And I think we're just at a critical moment where maybe we need to start figuring out hey, do we start being we're just going to be super aggressive all the time, screw kicking field goals, we're just going to try to take the points.
But this is where it comes back to they have the players. They have the players to do what they want to do.
I agree.
And they're just not doing it.
Yeah. And like I said, do we blame the players for not converting the plays, or do we blame the coaches for not putting the players in the position to, So I feel I think we're at a big intersection for this team. I think
Listen, Jacob and I talked about the Goodwill credit card before the season.
Damn, 2
Oh my
liter?
God, Jesus.
Holy shit. I'll burn one right there. That's crazy.
Crazy. That was insane. I thought I was juiced up. Colton's just taking swigs of a 2-liter Dr. Pepper. Look, I like Dr. Pepper as much as the next guy. I don't think I've ever drank it right out of the bottle.
That was
Shout out to Colton.
Comedic timing right there, because I think things on this podcast had been a little tense. You know, we're playing the blame game. We're like the Spider-Man meme. We're like, whose fault is this really? It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're talking about wins and losses here. So, like, really, like, what the heck is this team playing for? Because GJ says that this team still has high aspirations.
Yeah, it is definitely disappointing. I think anytime, whether you know where you're picked preseason, just that's what you work for. I mean, we break it out to champions every day in the off season, every day in fall camp, every day, every team meeting that we have, and now we don't control that anymore. So. I think we're going to have to, dig deep and know that we still have a lot to play for, and we got to go out there and go to work and make sure we handle our business and stay together and go to work. We still have a lot of pieces and a lot of really quality games left versus some really good opponents, and they're not going to feel sorry for us. So we got to go out there and get a win. I think getting a win will make everybody feel better.
We know for a fact they're not in the college football playoffs anymore. You can kiss that ship goodbye. And I said ship. That was with a P. Anyway, it's not going to be for a sexy time bowl game, right? We can probably kiss that goodbye too. So what are we playing for, really?
Well, I think you got to be playing for maintaining, I don't think we people forget, this was a program that at one time had won no more than 4 games for over a 6-year period.
And that to me is the toughest part. And I was thinking about this all day today. So you're right. This is a program that for the longest time was a 2-win, 3-win program. We go to the bowl game last year, we win it. And now we're in this spot where it's like, you should just be happy with what you get. Well, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with what we get, bro. I was expecting this team during the Spavital era to win 6 games. When they were winning 4 games, I was unhappy. I was expecting this Kinney team to win 8 games before a bowl game. They're not going to do that, probably. That's what it looks like, at least to this point. I'm unhappy. Maybe I'm just an unhappy sports fan.
I know, and I think people have a right to be unhappy. I mean, like I said, when they won their first bowl game, made it to their first bowl game, I think the expectation was always going to rise after that. And I think it's normal for people hey, we enjoyed all of this stuff, but there's always something more. There's always that next mountain to conquer.
Maybe that's the most unfair thing to happen to this team, because for all intents and purposes, we should have been happy with what happened last year, part 2. It's hard to get a bowl game selection. It's hard to win that same bowl game,
Well, here's the thing. This isn't 2013 and 2014 when there was 30 bowl games. Nowadays, I think we're at 45 bowl games. Almost anybody, Houston State might go to a bowl game.
What the hell, Colton?
No, I'm tired of the.
You come on our podcast and jack up our donation numbers.
Yeah, who the heck pays for that?
I like that. That's good. That's a good one.
I get sick and tired because every time the people over at thecats.com, every time Texas State loses, they're always tagging me and mention oh yeah, Bobcat Futility, we're the real program in Texas, all of that stuff.
So you come on our podcast and you swear up a storm because of your cyberbullying issues, huh?
Turn off the computer. Don't get cyberbullied. Walk away from the screen.
I got dunked on by all of ODU's alumni base last week. You don't see me crying over here, Colton.
And let me tell you,
I did make peace. I did make peace with them, so maybe that's why.
So, okay. I think you both have very good points. I don't think it's wrong to hold this program to a standard that we expect. I thought a college football playoff berth was a lofty goal, but it was, but hold on, I'm not done.
I mean, we almost got skunked out on our home opener to an FCS team. You think college football contenders do that?
On the Lamar game, they did admit we've got this bigger UTSA game. We're not going to throw the whole play. I think the game plan for that one was hey, we're just going to try to beat the UTSA.
Oh my God, Colton.
Damn, Colton, just get him in, bro. Get him in. That's fine.
I'm
We'll
sorry.
split.
It has been a long, 24 hours for me. I apologize.
I get it. I get
Potty
it,
mouth
Colton.
Colton.
You got to think about the children.
Yeah. Disney-ified, squaring around now.
Disney-ified, squaring around, yeah.
Even though I've dropped 2 as well. At least 2, I think.
I get it. I think we're all frustrated. This is why we don't do reaction pods. This right here is why we don't do a reaction pod, because we all get a little bit too tense.
We do get tense. It's been hard. So let's talk about something that we can all be really mad at together. The Ben Bell situation. Our fair hero was spotted on the sidelines, even through halftime, actually, in braids. I know Andrew says, taking a red shirt.
What is going on?
Taking a red shirt is something that you can forgive. Braids, maybe not something that you can forgive. I like that tweet. That was good.
Who thought that was a good idea? That's all I'm going to say.
Braids or the red shirt?
I'm just the red shirt. Just announce it. Just announce it. Just pull the Band-Aid off. Announce it. You're red shirting. It's fine. We'll move on.
We could have moved on from this a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
I've now been attempting to or asking this question in press conferences.
5 straight weeks.
For exactly 5 straight weeks. I didn't get to talk to GJ this week. He was dealing with a death in the family. So there's some other off the field stuff too. Yes, I wish him condolences yesterday, along with Colton and some of the other media members. But yeah, there's some other off the field stuff going on. We don't need to talk about that stuff.
So I do want to circle back to
something that everybody has been talking about, though.
I want to circle back. Jacob said that he didn't want to ask a question in the press conference because he didn't want to kick GJ Kinney when he was down. I think this is a good time to remind people that Jacob used to be the #1 journalist in San Marcos, and he has lost his edge. He's lost the fastball. He's now afraid. He's now afraid to ask questions in press conferences.
The #1 detective's getting too close to the case.
You go on one Texas State podcast with the president of the university, and all of a sudden he's got to put the soft mittens on. It doesn't want.
Well, you don't want to throw your fastball too in front of a large audience. By the way, there was 30 people in that press conference yesterday. Did you look around, Colton? There was so many people there.
I think it was part of that. I think the student media, one of the classes,
the
student media came and just took up seats and didn't ask any questions. Love that. Good stuff.
They actually asked a couple.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 questions from the students and all that. So I will give them credit.
Yeah, but in a loss too, it's kind of I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I'm just dunking on a coach for no reason, asking a hard question sometimes.
Give us a player. We'll dunk on him too.
Well, that's the thing. We don't get to talk to players because they don't give us availability with players after the fact.
After a loss?
After a loss, no.
Yeah, after a loss, yeah.
I think we're 0-4 now. And that's another thing, right? So there's been a lot of talk.
I can remember a time where Gabe Strade had 2 catches and he had to come out and talk to us after a loss. That's all I'm going to say.
Where Brian Holloway got jumped by 11 guys the entire game and he still came out and talked to us.
I'm just saying. Brian London too.
And this fan base expects this team to do great things, but we're not doing the basic things, right? That's the frustrating.
You talking about me?
No, not the media stuff.
Oh.
We're doing amazing, buddy.
The fans. That's what I'm asking.
Crushing it out of the park. Yeah.
I thought you were spinning this to be if the fans showed up, they would have a better show.
No. The fans did good too. I liked the crowd last night, actually. They were all in costumes. Santa was there. It was freaking awesome, dude. It was a great atmosphere for a Tuesday night. There was some tweets that came up right around kickoff that was wow, this is the crowd. You're forgetting those guys are getting busy getting drunk, all right? They got other things to do. They're going to roll up after the kick. It's okay. Yeah. But at least they're there. And they stayed there through halftime, too. And even during a stinker, there was at least a few thousand people there, towards the end when they were just burning the clock down, Louisiana. But I was going to say, during all this realignment stuff, Pac-12 teams talk, win, lose, or tie. What are we talking about? Midwest Conference teams talk, win, lose, or time. American.
Mountain West. You're
whatever, man. We're not joining it. It's okay. Kelly told us already.
The mid-conference. The mid-conference doesn't want to talk to us.
What are they? Mountain West. Yeah. Purple and black. Those are their
purple and white.
By the way, Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill waved at me and smiled and said, "Hey, how's it going?" What the heck is this podcast?
I probably thought you were dressed up as a Smurf.
Yeah, I look good. That was a good game day fit. Colton, your reaction to my game day fit?
It was a really good fit.
Thank you. Yeah. I saw Craven there too. Craven didn't show up to the press conference. No. He didn't need to.
Craven's looking more and more like me in like 40 years. It's getting kind of rough. It's
You think
looking
you're going to be a silver fox like Craven?
at 60, probably.
He's not 60.
That's what I'm saying.
Craven's not 60.
I said I'm going to look like that in 40 years.
It's tough for Craven, too, because he wears the Jordans. Shout out.
He looks good.
He does look good.
Iced out grandpa.
So where do we go from here? Your question,
Jeez.
my answer. On the road, University of Louisiana Monroe, which has turned into a good
team.
Question mark?
This is going to be a loss, gentlemen. Gentlemen, locked in. We're losing this game. I'm not kidding. ULM all season long has been surprising teams.
Bring out the Dr. Pepper. Bring out the Dr. Pepper.
Get those vocal cords nice
Tell
and
you what,
wetted.
the good thing we didn't play Baylor part 2 because Colton would have been in those silos sucking up the Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I would. Jeez Louise.
Just swan dive right in.
All right, Cowboy, what do you think about the Warhawks?
I will say UAB made a terrible decision behind Trent Dilfer when they had Brian Vincent. But yeah, it's amazing what he's done with ULM and the fact that he's being able to turn that program around and they might go to a bowl game in his very first year, which is kind of unthinkable now that you really think about it. But that ever since ULM started getting momentum, that game has always low-key kind of scared me because I feel like it's going to be how that Sam Houston State game is going to play out. ULM's going to find some way to muck it up. And because their defense is actually not that bad, they'll be able to kind of get it to where it's a one-possession game and ULM magically finds a kind of fumbles their way into a victory. And now after this Louisiana loss, I just feel like my confidence in this team's slowly getting away, and I don't.
It's eroded. It's 100% eroded.
Yeah, you have no idea what to think of this team anymore.
Here's what happened. This program was the girlfriend that continued to cheat on me. We went to relationship counseling. We had a good weekend, had a good sleepaway weekend, came back. She's cheating on me again, boys. That's what this program is doing. I cannot trust Texas State football. I'm sorry. I just can't. I refuse to trust them.
Well, so in a relationship like that, Andrew, what do you do? Do you just cut ties or what?
You get a master's and you move on.
You get a master's degree and move on.
But it also worries me that we're possibly going to Monroe with a backup quarterback now, Jordan McWilliams.
You think we're gonna go with RJ after this, or?
Well, like I said, I don't. Like I said, who knows how?
If Jordan's hurt, what are you talking about? Of course, we're going to go with RJ.
I understand, but there was some optimism out of GJ Kinney for the injury that Jordan sustained. He said he would be okay. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. I think he's going to be okay. I don't want to speak, too soon. Looks like he's going to be okay. Just didn't want to put him out there like that on one leg.
We also said Ben Bell would play again after 5 weeks. And
before they took Old Yeller behind the shed, they said Old Yeller was going to be okay. How you see the end of that movie, Jakey?
Yeah, but Old Yeller didn't come back with braids, I guess, too, is your point. That is the most ridiculous part of this entire storyline now is Ben Bell has braids.
He's distracting from the fact
that I've seen 3 hairstyles from Ben now. I've seen him he's got his full mane. I've seen him when he's got the buzz cut, and now I've seen him with the braids. Yeah.
Which one's the worst? It's taking way too long for this answer. It's taking way too long. Okay.
Gotta be braids.
Yeah.
Before the season, I looked at ULM as a trap game because I thought, okay, you're going to get done with ULL. Then you move on to ULM. You lose that game because you overlook your opponent. Now, I'm very concerned about that road trip. And I saw some people on Twitter talking about how GJ in this team continues to win. They continue to win the games that they have to win, essentially. Now, we talked about it last week. We said that they're a better home team than a road team. They're a bad road team. It's not a debate. They are a bad road team. Because of that, I look at this ULM game and I say, and again, we're going to talk about it next week leading up to it, but I look at this Colton and I think to myself, even if Jordan McLeod plays at 75%, if you bring the playbook that you've been running the last month to this game, you're losing. You're not winning.
I agree. There has to be changes on the offense because you can't be scoring less than 20 points these past 2 games and expect to beat a team like ULM,
And look, the one position group that we haven't really taken any shots at this season, mostly because of my affinity towards them, because when I look in the mirror, I see myself in them, the offensive line. The offensive line has been bad. And that might be, at the end of the day, like when GJ looks back on the season and goes like, okay, what went right, what went wrong? That will be the position group I think that he looks at and goes, we need to get better at that position, because we were great at running back. We had the reigning Sunbelt Player of the Year. We had a reigning all-conference wide receiver in Joey Hobart, and we still weren't able to win more games. And it goes back to the offensive line.
It's so funny if you're tuning into this podcast right after Kelly's podcast that we did, and you're like, oh, let me tap into what these guys are talking about. Oh, my God. Like, I'm so sorry. Welcome to the show. This is what we're doing. We don't get
It's a reaction podcast. It's a reaction podcast.
Yeah. We don't give Texas State passes. I'm sorry to say. And I'll say, too, up front, right? Like, we talked a lot about preseason expectations for this team. I don't think the fan base was wrong for thinking that we could, go somewhere crazy for this team, right? Like, this team was full of potential. Everything that you read preseason was like, oh, wow, maybe we should be paying attention to San Marcos. You would play a random guy in college football 25, and they would be like, Texas State's got a great squad. I'm just saying.
So let's ask this question to our resident college football expert, Urban Cowboy. Where does Texas State rank on most disappointing teams in college football this year? Do they make your top 5?
They probably do make my top 5. I mean,
that's bad. That's awful.
Well, like I said, it's what we've been talking about. Like, the expectations to win a conference championship, like, they weren't unreasonable, because like they returned to everybody. Like, you're talking about returning an all-conference running back, an all-conference wide, like you basically reloaded on your wide receiver room. It's like whether or not the defense was going to show up, and for the most part, the defense has showed up. But
are they more disappointing than TCU? Because here's the other part. I go through the state.
Well, what did you think TCU? I didn't think TCU was going to be that good this year. I mean, like, nothing. They hadn't really proven to me, like, oh, is this going to be a Big 12 contender? Like,
that's fair. I look around the state though, and I say to myself, Texas State was supposed to be in the conversation with like Texas and Texas A&M when it comes to like expectations. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to be as good as those teams. I'm just saying expectation wise,
like teams
that will win 10 games. You would say Texas State, and then probably Texas A&M with a bowl game. And now they are behind teams like SMU. SMU has shown out this year. Texas and Texas A&M both are great. UNT, Sam Houston State.
I would pump the brakes on UNT.
Okay.
Even after this week?
Wait, after what?
Even after this week?
Yeah, because UNT's defense is still pretty terrible.
Okay.
Like, despite that flamethrower offense, like if you watch the Tulane game, like Tulane only passed the ball 13 times and had over like almost 300 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's Tulane though. That's Tulane.
I think that Texas State is a better team than but you can't even say that. They're a better team than UTEP, and they're a better team than UTSA.
And this is a question I've posed multiple times throughout the course of like our coverage of the team, going back to our college years. But at what point, like, how many losses does it take for a team or a group of players on a specific team to be bought out? Like,
or sell out, yeah,
to sell out on the rest of the season. Yeah, I don't know.
For this team,
we're approaching that number though.
For this team, it might have been one.
You think so? It's a lot of like fragility
lost
now, though. And this is a conversation I was having with Craven, but the way that the transfer portal has changed things, if you get a group of losses together, things don't go the way that you thought they were going to go. You start having some unfulfilled promises.
I don't know. Well, so like, but like, okay. And Colton, feel free to chime in here. What promises is GJ Kenny giving these guys that isn't fulfilled? Like, we were going to win a conference. I don't think he's making that promise.
He's promising this. You're going to win a lot of games. You're going to be a part of an electric offense. We're going to go fast both ways on the ball. So far, I mean, for the past month, we really haven't been doing either.
Is it Mac Leftwich's fault?
Yeah, he's the one calling the offense.
So do we take his play calling away?
I don't know.
Colton? This isn't a hire and fire podcast. I'm asking that question.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's getting hired or fired this year to next year,
No.
I think. We're going to keep Dex and we're going to keep Mac. And we're going to keep GJ. Congratulations, Texas State. Maybe this was the master plan.
No, I don't think so.
I do think you have to have I think there probably has to be some uncomfortable conversations that needs to be had this week because these past 2 weeks to be frankly it's unacceptable for what the standard they have set for this offense. I mean, we saw what they did at UIW. We saw what they did at last year, and we've seen glimpses of it this year. How great this offense can be, and for the past 2 weeks, it's honestly I would grade an F minus. I don't know how much lower you can really go, but it's frankly unacceptable.
Well, and you had a conversation with Dex that did get uncomfy.
Oh yeah,
where he was like, "You think we're gonna win, right? No, that's the attitude. You got to come in here and say it like that."
Do you believe we'll win Tuesday?
Oh yeah.
We will, right? So that same kind of confidence that I'm asking you, and I want you to have that same confidence. That's the way we feel. So we prepare to win. We compete to win, and that's gonna be our mindset each and every day. I mean, we got confidence in our kids. We got confidence in our staff and confidence that, we go out and execute and do the right things, that we'll be victorious. But all that comes with the work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a big guy that's going to, hey, we're going to win and we're going to make all these predictions. I ain't with all that. It's just the work. Put in the work. I think everything else will take care of itself. So do we have the confidence to win? Yes. Are we going to compete to win? Yes. Are we going to be ready to go on Tuesday? Yes. We'll see what happens when we kick off and get this thing rolling.
And guess what, Dex? We didn't win. So
isn't that was that the conversation I had last week, Colton? I'm sorry if I got after you a little bit last week.
Get on him, Colton.
Yeah, that's not an answer. Yeah, I don't get paid to coach. What do you mean? Do you think we're gonna win? That's insane.
I guess it just threw me off because I'm not expecting a coach to ask me a question. I'm
but that maybe. That might speak, I guess, to the frustration that they're feeling and we're feeling. Because you as a writer, it's not wrong for you to think that we're going to win, but it's usually not on the record like that unless it's in your pick'em or whatever. And for him to do the same thing is wait, what? Now we're
I think you need to go to a school.
An honest question because it was, Texas State has not had success against Louisiana. And it was basically boiled down to hey, y'all have had this, y'all have traditionally have not had this much success against Louisiana. How do y'all turn it around?
But you see, the difference right there is that they don't this is not a staff that has Texas State tradition, right? This is a new staff, so they look at it as hey, we didn't lose Louisiana. The last guy might have.
You guys lost to Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of buck passing. I think. Yeah,
school might have lost. I didn't lose. You need to go to the School of Combative Interviews, led by Professor Zimmel. Because I'll tell you, if there's one person who has a combative interview style, it is yours truly.
That's super true. Yeah. I extend an olive branch even before the interview. Actually, that's what I spent the entire first quarter doing, setting up basketball interviews for us. I got to talk to Coach Johnson, all the assistant coaches, Dante Mathis.
The women's basketball program loves us. That's the difference.
Basketball program loves us, man.
Women's basketball loves us.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Coach Page said hello. I want that on the record here. She said, shout out my boy Zim. I finally got to meet her in person as well. Coach Z hugged me. They love us.
Hugged you? What? That's like a kneecap thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, I went right to her kneecaps.
She said, where are the Smurf
patted berries? Me on the top of my head.
Where are the Smurf berries, Jacob? We're looking for them.
Yeah, I found out me and Coach Z were now officially fishing buddies now because apparently her twin boys like to fish. And I remember, I think it was one of the business conventions in San Marcos. She came up to me because I told her when I went home, I went fishing. She was oh, I need to show you this app. It showed me this fishing app where you can post all your bass fishing photos. I was oh my God, this is, yeah.
I don't believe in apps like FishBrain or anything like that because I'm not trying to give away my secret spots, bro.
Well, no, you never give away your secret spots.
That's true. I guess you can just flex on the gram, but yeah.
If Texas State loses again, I'm killing myself.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I told you, like, I've been through this before with this team. I've seen us lose several times. It feels like we might lose another time, though. What's worse? I posed this question to somebody I had dinner with last night.
You bum.
I knew you'd like that answer. I posed this question to somebody I had dinner with last night. What is worse, going to a bowl game and losing that bowl game, or like not going to a bowl game at all?
Not going to a bowl game at all. That's a dumb
Yeah, it's
question.
always not going to a bowl
That's
game.
a dumb
It's
question.
always
You're a
really not going to a bowl.
dumb person.
Oh, okay. I'm a dumb guy.
Evict this man. Send this man back to Guadalajara. Get his out of here.
That's another one, Andy. We're just burning through swears this week.
That doesn't even count. What are you talking about?
The A word, sir?
The FCC doesn't even fine you for that. What are you talking about? How
Man.
are you stricter than the FCC?
Because I'm Mexican. Because he's a Mexican. Shout out RJ Martinez.
Are you buying a jersey?
No.
If his name was RJ Rodriguez, would you buy a jersey?
Oh, absolutely, dude. The second we sign a Rodriguez on this team, we only have like 2 guys from the Valley, I think.
Is that why we're losing games?
Yes. We need more heart.
Not enough Valley guys.
I started the newsletter back up, and I had to explain why the newsletter stopped for a while. But I also included my Travis Bush article. And Travis Bush told me I could have walked onto his team. Just saying.
That's a bad team. Jacob, that's a bad team. Colton, now you know.
They're redshirting everybody. UTRGV this year. That's why.
Going to be a bad year.
What do you mean? Kennesaw State doing pretty good.
They're going to, oh man, that's a tough look.
But Kennesaw State's been playing like football since 2012. We're talking about a startup, like a team that's literally starting their very first season next year.
How many games does our UTRGV win? And when do they win more games than Texas State?
Where is this?
Ever? Do they ever do that?
I hope so.
Wow.
You know, actually, we play
Texas
them.
State.
We play them in 2027 and 2030. Sorry, I was talking to Craven on the side.
In the Valley?
No, in UFCU.
They're both in San Marcos?
Yeah, we host both of them, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, man. Really?
Yeah, well, because UTRGV's at FCS, they're in the Southland and all of that stuff.
That is good. Let me tell you.
They're going to play in a beautiful facility. HEB, the former HEB Park.
Let me tell you, that first game, Texas State fans, you might have to like camp out for your tickets because it's going to be.
Oh, what the heck?
It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy.
Gonna get loco? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know that fan base will travel to follow to support their team. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be a team that gets a lot of support. So you're going to have to camp out for your tickets because you're going to want to get a seat in that stadium.
Word.
Yeah. What did you think I was saying?
I thought you were saying that Mexicans were going to travel up in caravans. I could say that I'm brown.
That's crazy. That is crazy. I would never say anything like that.
All right, just making sure you didn't say that.
No, I would never say anything similar to that.
Again, if you're part of the carryover audience from the current episode, I apologize for this entire episode. But, you know, it's also not our fault because if this team won, this wouldn't be like this.
I think this was a good episode. I think it was good therapy. We got a lot of aggression out.
We did. We're not going to take it through into the next chapter of our day.
No,
you know,
we're going to move on.
Healthy conversation.
I'm not going to take this out on any coworkers or friends.
Men need to cry, you know? Thanks for squaring.
If Texas State loses again, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh my God. Thanks for squaring, everybody. Thanks again to our Dr. Pepper warrior, Colton McWilliams, for joining us on the pod. That was insane, right? 2-liter bottle to the head.
I have my little mug that I put water in sometimes and I drink during the pod.
I had a in and out cup this whole time.
Yeah.
My mom hates it, by the way, when I drink from my my hydro flask. Despises it on the podcast just for some inside baseball. I can't wait to see a reaction for the Dr. Pepper 2-liter.
It's pretty good one.
That's true single man activities, though.
Yeah. I wonder what the insulin's gonna cost.
For Colton?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You drink
at least it's not like my 600-pound life or something where like those people like would eat like
Yeah.
a meal and then have like a 2 liter of lemonade, simply lemonade back to back.
To make it go to wash it down.
Mhm.
No, and Colton's
Wash
super
it
skinny,
down.
so he'll be fine. He'll be okay. You want to talk about the feedback we got on the current podcast?
Sorry, I'm like ordering my Chipotle right now. Yeah. Yo, shout out Kelly for having us on his show, number 1. Number 2, shout out all the Quattro Corners cartel members for linking up and supporting you boys. A lot of my friends hit me up and were like, yo, this is huge. Some of our professors hit us up on Facebook and emailed me telling me that I was on this. I know. I did the work, dude.
Yeah.
Not only that, we're in nearly year 2 of doing this podcast that got us there too. So it's really kind of like a culminating thing. I was telling Andrew, I was very proud of us and where we've come to this point in time. So just really proud to be doing this thing with you, buddy.
Yeah, I got a lot of good feedback, a lot of friends, a lot of family, college people hit us up about it. And it was really cool. And I agree. It does feel like a culmination. It's like a high. I don't know about you. You've probably done a little bit more than me. It did feel like a career milestone type of thing. You're like, oh, this is cool. This is one of those that I can appreciate in the moment. I can appreciate it. I'm going to appreciate it when I look back on it too.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I mean, we did that over like a month ago now too. So it's kind of like lost. It's like, whoa, how cool of a thing. But like when my friends, like the guys that I still talk to this day from college are like, yo, this is sick, dude. You guys are really killing it. I'm like, hey, thank you guys. I totally forgot how cool this is. Because when you're around something for so long, you kind of lose that shimmer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure.
it hasn't lost its shimmer for me anymore, you know?
No.
I'm really grateful to be where we are. We got some people who want to work with us that I haven't even talked to you about, actually. So sprinkling in some sponsorship. Is it a working relationship? Is it a partnership? Is it I don't know. But we got some fun things down the pipe in year 2 of this great podcast that could.
Thanks for swearing, everybody.
We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges. Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.